All right, greetings everyone, and welcome to our Day of Solutions session. We are thrilled to have you all joining from all around the world, and we'd invite you to go ahead and turn off your mics and say hello, and we'd love to hear your voices from all around the world if you're able to. And we are going to go ahead and go live on YouTube and get started for our session today. So good morning, good day, good afternoon, good night to you all.
Good morning or good day.
Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good
Morning,
evening.
ma'am.
Hello.
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 Good evening, ma'am.
Hello.
So great to have you all here. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and put your microphones on mute, but we'd encourage you to add to the chat box as we go. We're going to be together for about an hour, and then we'll resume with our other presentations from our classrooms. And today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ayush Chopra and Kun Temers, and I'd love to give them an opportunity to say hello to you all here today too.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Jennifer ma'am, for giving me this opportunity, first of all. And welcome all to the Day of Solutions, the finale for the Goals Project. It's crazy to realize that these past 6 weeks went by so quickly. And I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to all the facilitators that participated in Goals Project 2021, all the students, all the student and youth ambassadors that were behind the scenes and helping us behind the scenes with the whole Goals Project and making it the most fun project that I have been a part of throughout my life. And the most importantly, thanks to Jennifer ma'am and Cohen sir for first of all organizing this. And I can't wait to get started with today's event. So I think so without further ado, I'd like to get right into it.
Thank you, Ayush. Poon, would you love to say some words to our audience of global classrooms?
Yeah, welcome to the Day of Solutions. First, I want to thank all of the teachers for bringing the goals on the menu of your students' learning process. We know that this means that you have to step outside your comfort zone, but what happens is magic because you will change your students' lives, I think, for the rest of their lives, enabling them to do more. I also want to thank all of the students because you really rock, you know. You prove that you can do more than yelling. You prove that you really can come up with solutions and take meaningful action. And we are really grateful for that. So please keep doing that and enjoy today.
So we are joined by classrooms from over 120 countries today, and we have representatives from all of our 34 groups who will be presenting. So hopefully you've been on hashtag Goals Project on Twitter and seen some of those presentations that have been happening. We will have those all throughout the rest of today, and you can join in on those recordings if you've missed any of them. So greetings to you all. As Ayush mentioned, we have been part of a 6-week experience. So we've met the goals in the beginning with week 1. Then each of you with your classrooms were gifted one SDG, so one of the global goals. And then over the past several weeks, you've been exploring those goals, researching, finding different solutions. I heard we had a 5-year-old classroom from Thailand this morning talking about what is a challenge. So taking on this challenge and designing for impact. Then week 4, we looked at the connections with all of the global goals with our role as environmental stewards. Then last week, we talked about packaging up those solutions. How are we going to share those with the world? And today we are sharing that impact with our solutions. So we welcome you to the Day of Solutions, and we have 30 minutes before our keynote with some special guests and some special presentations. First, we have a big announcement. We have an official piece of art for the Goals Project. And here's a little preview here. You can see these small hands creating this piece of artwork. And this group is from Thailand. They are with Miss Maya Bassett's classroom. And these are 4, 5, and 6-year-olds that created this beautiful piece of art that we'll be showcasing on our website. So you'll be able to take a look at that. Maybe have some reflections within your classroom about what you think that represents. There's a lot of different images within this piece of art, so you can explore that after today. So congratulations to Maya's class on this beautiful official piece for the Goals Project Day of Solutions. We have several performers that we are excited to introduce today, and I'd love to welcome in one of our superstar facilitators, Bhavna. I would love to have you turn on your mic and introduce our 2 special performers.
Am I audible? Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Bhavna.
Yeah. I would like to introduce Arushi Pant from Pathways World School, Aravali. Arushi, oops, sorry.
Hello,
Arushi, yeah. Arushi is trained in Western classical music since the tender age of 5. Arushi Pant got into a Broadway musical company in Washington, D.C., such as the power of her voice which embodies the great Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, and Adele, a commonly heard persona in intra and inter school music competition. He has dragged school music competition. She has racked up a myriad of awards. She sings songs that addresses social issues prevalent in today's time and hopes to make a, a difference in society through her music. Arushi, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to be here today, and the song I'll be singing is known as The Climb by Miley Cyrus. And I basically chose this song because I think it's really relevant to sing, because we are working towards a cause and we need to keep working towards it. And yeah, so I'll begin. Should I start? I can almost see it, the dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaking, but I gotta keep trying, gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another moment. mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's a climb. The struggles I'm facing, the chances I'm taking. Sometimes you might knock me down, but no, I'm not breaking. I may not know it, but these are the moments that I'm gonna remember most. Just gotta keep going, and I got to be strong. Just keep pushing on. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's a climb. Yeah, yeah. There's always gonna be another mountain. Always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes you're gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's a climb. Yeah, yeah. Keep on moving, keep climbing, keep your faith, keep your faith. It's all about the climb. Keep your faith, keep your faith. It's all about the climb. Thank you so much.
Bravo, bravissimo.
It was just amazing. I got goosebumps. She's too good.
Arushi Pant, I'm sure we will be seeing your name in the stars for many, many years. So thank you for gifting us with your beautiful song. And we are so inspired today. I think we're all just having goosebumps and a little bit of a speechless moment after that beautiful performance. But thank you for being our spotlight performer with your singing today at the Day of Solutions. We're so incredibly grateful.
So much for having me here.
And I'm sure Bhavna's a very proud teacher at this moment after, after that song. Well, Bhavna, I think we should introduce our next performer, our official poet for the Day of Solutions. I know someone else here very special in your life, Ronit, your son. I'd love to invite him to turn on his mic and share his poem for the world.
Thank you. Greetings of the day. My name is Ronit Matthew from Pathways World School Arabi. It was a great experience to be a part of the Global Goals project. I would like to thank Dr. Jennifer Williams for giving me this opportunity to share my self-composed poem. Refuse, reuse, reduce, recycle is my mantra to promote SDG 12 worldwide. Refuse the consumption and production of products which are not environment friendly and toxic in all conduct. Reduce the use of non-biodegradable products which affect air, water, and land. Reuse anything that you can to support sustainability and efficient use of resources available in our hands. Sort out trash to recycle the products. This will support responsible consumption for all of us. Together, when we all will rethink and plan, it will spread awareness to regrow our land.
Thank you so much, Ronit. And thank you so much, Arushi, too, for those lovely performances. And thank you, Bhavna ma'am, as well, for introducing us to those awesome performances. Uh,
Thank you.
before we go into our next section, I'd like to share a poem called Voice of Youth. Uh, the voice of youth has many shades. With no fear in mind, it never fades. The voice of youth always stands together. No matter what, it even faces the toughest weather. The voice of youth can create long lasting ripples. It creates miracles in the world, which else just cripples. The voice of youth never talks about hate. It writes the future, it manifests the fate. Let the voice of youth be free of chains, with no politics, no borders, and no pains. The world is struggling with the climate and the plastic wrappers. To bring the big change, it is the voice of youth that actually matters. Wish the voice of youth live forever, and no one can dare to kill it ever. The voice of youth, you are my superhero. You are as important to this world as any zero. And this poem was written by my mother, so I know how important it is to me, and the meaning behind this poem is really important for me, and I think for the whole world, regarding the importance of how students should be active in their community and why the voice of youth actually matters. So, with keeping that in mind, I'd like to introduce our first youth ambassador, Zoe Jenkins. Zoe is a 17-year-old education, equity, and justice advocate from Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you so much. And thank you all so much for having me as well. As was said, I'm Zoe Jenkins. I am from Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm a high school student, and I do a lot of work, as I shed, working to make education a better place, but specifically by doing that through amplifying the voices of students. All of the work that I do is I realize is centered around making sure that youth have a place in that decision-making process, that youth are included when we are designing the future, and that, with all of that work, all of the work that you all have been doing to support, the sustainable development goals, that's all rooted in giving people hope, that we want everyone to have an education that helps them find their right place in the world. We want everyone to be able to work a job that they love and that they are good at. And we want everyone to have an equal opportunity, to live the best life that they want to live. And we know that addressing climate change, addressing our education systems is how we get there. And there are so many movements that are rooted in that, sense of giving everybody access to hope, from the civil rights movement here in the United States to the sunflower movement in Taiwan. It's a hope that we can make our world a better place. And I don't think that there's any coincidence that all of those movements were led by young people as young as everyone on this call, as young as me, as young as all of you. And it just always strikes me that youth activism is incredibly unique in that it inspires a sense of hope that other movements simply cannot. Youth brings such a unique perspective to issues. We have the whole world ahead of us. And in many ways, that it's that perspective and that viewpoint that's so important, that we center in all that we do. And I know that sometimes youth activism seems a little bit daunting. I know that you're like, oh, I've not finished my education yet. I've not worked my first job. How am I supposed to do anything? I don't like public speaking, which is totally okay. I think it's so important to note that we don't all have to be able to, create the prettiest art pieces. We don't have to be able to speak in front of crowds of hundreds of thousands of people. We all have something that each of us individually can do. And our role is to just spark that hope in other people around us. So those can just be the other kids in your classroom. It can be members of your family, members of your community, just giving other people the ability to hope for a better future and to just help someone else out in whatever way you know that you can. And so I guess if I had to leave you with one word, it's just that youth activism is supposed to bring hope. So always think about how you can help just someone else hope a little bit for a brighter future as well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And thank you so much for telling us to keep the hope alive, because I also think it's pretty important. Next, we have Xander D. Yeager, an alumni of our Goals Project and Take Action Project programs. Xander is a middle school student in Colorado committed to student voice and student activism. His family is originally from South Africa, and most recently, Xander has been working with his classmate Baxter to develop the Solutionary Studio. Welcome, Xander, and I'm sorry if I pronounce your full name wrong.
No, you did it right. Thank you. I'm Xander D. Jager. I'm from Colorado, and I'm a 7th grade student. I currently work with Solutionary Studio, and with my friend Baxter, who is also in 7th grade with me. We are in a class together. I'm one of the founding members of Solutionary Studio, and so our main goal is to inspire people to take on change and then make even more change with that change. The term solutionary doesn't just mean one meaning. It has so many different thousands of different meanings. It really depends on the person. And at Solutionary Studio, we try to share the ideas and the solutions and the different projects you could take on of each meaning of solutionary. The meaning of solutionary we'll be focusing on in the next 2 to 3 minutes is the see a problem, and then conduct research, action, and then educate. So when you see, for instance, here in Colorado, we have a lot of coal production. So we use a lot of coal in our energy. About 50% of our energy is coal. Only the other half is mostly unhealthy natural gases. And in Colorado, we have all the skiing, which might go away if we don't fix the problem soon. We have a lot of trees, big trees that are a big part of Colorado for the ecosystem. And so that's the problem we see, is that we're using too many unhealthy gases and fuel sources to power Colorado's energy. So we've been conducting research. We've started this project last year and we're still going on with it. And so far we've taken some action because we found also it's a solution area to find a solution that comes after you do research, action, and educate. So the solution we found was that windmills are a very good source, because in Colorado it's very windy. There's always a breeze. So if we put windmills in if we took the amount of energy and time and money it costs to get all these coal production plants, if we switched, or at least put half of it into becoming windmills, we would have enough power to power all of Colorado and most of America. And then there's a new problem. There's always a new problem as you're going through the process. There's always going to be new problems thrown on top of you. There's going to be new solutions. Your original solution might change. And we came up with there's another problem where it was the jobs, because people have jobs working at coal plants. So how are we going to fix that? And so we did even more research, and it turns out that windmills actually need more attention. But that means there's more jobs, and working with windmills pays more than it does to work at coal production plants. So that's somewhat of a problem solved. It's probably going to happen again. And so we've emailed some government officials about talking about, like, hey, what can we do about this problem? What's an issue? This is a big issue. We need some sort of way to slow it down. We don't have to completely stop. We just have to find some way to there's always, you always have to start somewhere. You can't immediately go, bam, America or Asia or any other place is just all of a sudden 100% eco-friendly. You gotta work from somewhere, because there's also cons to finding all these solutionary ways to solve problems, is because the animals that are outside of my door, for instance, right now, they would not be alive right now if they haven't found a way to adapt to all these changes to the environment. So we can't drastically make any changes. You can't immediately think, oh, we got to change it completely in like 5 seconds, because those animals also need their own time to adjust and to breathe and to take that step back and be like, okay, things are changing. I should probably change too. And that's why our thing is we want to give out change so we can get even more change back. And then we can throw that. It's a whole chain of getting change, throwing change. My advice would probably to be, when this is personal to me too, when you're gonna reach a low point in life, but that low point is what led me to this moment today, to become something really amazing, something that I like doing. And you're gonna do amazing things after you get past that low point.
Thank you so much, Sander. That was, I don't think so just for me, but for everyone. That was an amazing perspective. And what you said about thinking about the solution and then sharing your solutions with each other is pretty important. Um, Next, I would like to welcome Ria Mehta. Like me, Ria is a student in Canada, and she's working to maximize impact through education and marketing. She built her company, Future Shot Factory, at the age of 17, an organization where they partner and consult with companies to solve an area of the SDGs through advocacy and the use of technology. Welcome, Ria.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. A lot of great points were mentioned by my other youth that were on this call as well. And I kind of just wanted to touch on that and share a little bit of my own experience. I started out when I was 16, I worked in a research hospital, and being in a hospital with a bunch of other patients kind of crammed into the same room, it was a really amazing experience in the sense that it taught me to be grateful for what I have. And that's really why I started doing what I do, because I realized that I can't do everything I want to. I can't accomplish everything I want to if I'm not already grateful for what I have. I can't accomplish what I want in the future if I'm not already showing gratitude towards what I have in the present. And I realized that by recognizing my friends, my network, my parents, taking advantage of the opportunities in front of me, because I realized that there's people that can't do it. There's people that physically can't make a change even if they want to. And that's really heartbreaking, because you want to see other people, especially young people, be able to make a change. But working in the hospital that I did, I realized that that's not just always a reality. Some people have illness, some people have sickness, some people are focused on other things, and not everyone can be able to make an impact in the way that you want to. So just recognizing that and realizing that I even have the privilege to be physically well, to be mentally well, to be in this position where I'm given so many resources, why don't I use it to make some sort of difference? You know, why don't I use it to make some sort of change? I think once you come to that realization, wherever that's from, whatever experience that's from, I think it really gives you a sense of responsibility, I should say, rather than just realizing that I want to do this and I will move forward with it. You almost feel like you have a responsibility that I am a member of society and I am physically well, I am mentally well, I have a great group of people around me. That's privilege. That is privilege. So why don't I use that to my advantage, and why don't I take the responsibility of actually being able to make change? Something else I wanted to quickly touch on was resourcefulness. So I think Zoe mentioned this as well when she was talking about taking advantage of opportunities when you're young. And I think that's really, really important, because for me, when I was 16, I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't know how to contact mentors and build a strong network of people and keep people updated on what I was doing. I didn't know anything. I didn't know any skills of how to like survive in the industry. So I was just kind of floating around from position to position to organization that I wasn't actually doing anything that I felt was meaningful. It was only when I started building up my company and really working alongside my other mentors and taking in other pieces of advice from other people when I really felt like I was moving towards some sort of resolution. I was actually making an impact because I was listening to other people. I was being resourceful. So I didn't wait for anyone to come to me with a certain job offer or whatever. I actually went out and made that impact on my own. So I spent hours researching and breaking down problems in the world. I come from a program called the Knowledge Society. So we do a lot of work there where we break down the world's biggest problems into first principles thinking, which is basically an analysis of thinking where we understand the problem as a whole and we break it down to its core issue. So just using that method, I spent a lot of time breaking down and understanding problems. And that's really what I love to do, is research into these areas and how can we actually find a resolution in them and how can we create an action plan where we can move on from the future. But even dissecting those areas of SDG goals and problems are really, really important. So I think that just being in that place where I was given the privilege to do that is really exciting. And I urge every single person to do that as well, is not only take action towards a goal, but actually break down the problem and understand it from your own perspective and be resourceful about who you're inviting in your life and be resourceful about what mentors you have, what network you have. LinkedIn is a great way to build a network. That's where I started out. And I have a lot of connections where I can talk to people and I can reach out to anyone for a virtual meeting. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about resourcefulness, and also keep that in mind when you're thinking about your motivation. What's your motivation for doing something? Where does it come from? I think that will determine a lot of your energy in the long run as well, especially if it's something that comes from an emotional perspective, like gratitude or gratefulness. So that's kind of my perspective. I'm really excited to be here. And all of you guys are starting out at a young age and being resourceful, which is also really wonderful.
Thank you so much, Ria, for those thoughtful and awesome words. And finally, we welcome Hannah Bruce. Hannah is a 16-year-old student voice, STEM, and education changemaker from Norwalk, Iowa. She works to create innovative communities of youth, educators, and community leaders who look critically at their surroundings to create unique, student-driven solutions to educational and community issues. We're happy to have you here, Hannah.
All right. Hi, everybody. Like Ayush said, my name is Hannah Gross, and I am from Norwalk, Iowa. I know that when I first discovered the global goals, after Dr. Williams shared them with me at a conference, it kind of connected all of these ideas that had been floating around in my head before. I had always been interested in closing the gender gap in STEM, interested in getting more student voice in school, and solving different issues around my community, but I'd never seen it put together in a way that the global goals did, with these 17 different tenets that all connect with each other. Because if you're working on one of the goals, you're working on improving all of the goals as well. And so that really provides a nice framework for what kind of change we can make in our community. And so I encourage you to each look at the global goals and consider how you can use them to make change in your community. It provides an outline for you to rally your community members, your family, and your peers to actually take action in your community. And I know that that's something that in the past I've struggled with, is how can I get the people closest to me engaged in the problems that I'm trying to solve? Because if you can't make change locally, it's a lot harder to make change on a global scale. So maybe take a minute to think to yourself, what are some ways that I can get my family to talk about the global goals, or talk at lunch with my friends about some of the global goals, and maybe my favorite one, like climate change or education. How can we have a conversation about this to really get them excited and passionate about making change in our communities? And they also encourage us to look critically at the things around us, right? This wasn't something that I learned how to do until middle school or later. And a lot of you guys are elementary students who are already doing this, which is really amazing. Looking at how the systems around you influence the way that you go about your life, right? And then look at them. See, this is something that I really like that they're doing, right? But what else do I think that they could improve on? Maybe bring your notebook to class one day and say, hey, this is what I really like one of my teachers is doing. I really learn a lot from this, but what is some area that I can improve? And so that's ways that we can create concrete change in our communities. And a lot of the times when we open up this feedback loop of this is what I like and this is what I don't like, we're able to communicate this better with students and with educators and with the people who are closest to us around us to actually make this change that we want to happen. And then also, like, the importance of student voice. a lot of times school is the first institution that any of us interact with outside of our families. But so many of us go to school each day and feel like our voices aren't heard. I was just doing roundtables yesterday or a week ago with some students at my school, and it was the first time that many of them had even felt like their voices were heard and their voices mattered. And these students were 17 years old, and they were like, why is this the first time that I felt heard in school? So you all are really lucky because your teachers have stepped up and introduced this Global Goals project to you in school. And really just take advantage of that. Connect with those teachers because they really have hope for you, because right now we're the ones who are going to be making the change that needs to happen in our world, because we're the ones who are going to have to live with it. So really, as a youth, and as an individual student, just take advantage of the fact that you are young, right? We have a lot more time ahead of us and a lot less restrictions on our thinking that will allow us to create this unique and creative problem solving to the global goals that we're all trying to work together towards. So thank you.
Thank you, Hannah and Zoe and Ria and Xander for your amazing thoughts, and to Ayush for leading us in our youth perspective and our presentations. We now have our special guest joining for our keynote presentation, and I am honored and so happy to introduce our Undersecretary, Melissa Fleming. From 2009 until August 2019, Ms. Fleming served as the UNHCR Head of Global Communications and the spokesperson for the High Commissioner. At the UNHCR, she led global media outreach campaigns, social media engagement, and a multimedia news service to distribute and place stories designed for empathy and to stir actions for refugees. So a lot of the things we've been talking about here with the Goals Project, with empathy, action, storytelling. If you haven't had a chance to check out her amazing TED Talk, she's had over 1.4 million views on her talk, Let's Help Refugees Thrive, Not Just Survive. And I think for a lot of you, her message of we will build you a school and her hope for the world will resonate with you as you're going out into your work. So Ms. Fleming, I welcome you. Thank you for being with us, and we're excited to have you share.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would really like to say one thing. Well, I will say that good evening, I'm Pari Katma.
You want to mute?
It's okay. She can. I think, yeah. Should I go or do you want?
Just a minute, ma'am. I was saying that I am Pari Katma from India, and I really want that we should.
Please hold your thoughts just 1 second. We're so excited to hear from you, but right now we have a schedule and we have Undersecretary General who will be sharing. So please hold your thought. We'll come back to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Okay, thanks,
Go
Kari.
ahead, Ms. Fleming.
Thanks for your patience. Yeah. And hi, everyone. It's great to see you. Hello from New York. And thanks so much for that really nice introduction. Yes, indeed, I'm passionate about storytelling. And, you know, there's this saying that statistics are human beings with the tears dried off. So when we talk about the SDGs, I just want you all to imagine that there are human beings behind them. And when we talk in the abstract, it's very hard for people to, also for you maybe, to really understand what that means. What does inequality mean for the human beings behind? What does the poverty mean? What is the lack of healthcare, lack of clean water, lack of peace? So it's always been, as somebody, my job is to be a communicator. What does a communicator mean? It means we need to tell the stories of all those millions of people who are being left behind, who are not able to access the same level of services and education as we are. I assume that every one of you, and it's amazing to see, I'm really inspired to have learned about this project, and I'm so glad that my department is supporting it, to see you embracing the SDGs and learning about them and learning about why they are really the blueprint for our world. And you know, I was just yesterday, there was, if you look on my Twitter or my Instagram, you'll see a picture of me with with the Director of Communications for UNICEF standing at an installation that UNICEF put in front of UN headquarters in New York, and it is of 68 empty desks, and behind those, the chairs on the desks are 68 UNICEF backpacks, and those backpacks represent the 68 million students in the world who have not been able to enter a classroom since the start of lockdowns about a year ago. And you know what that means, I mean, for you, I hope that all of you, I mean, I'm sure that many of you have just gone online, which has been terrible. I'm sure for most of you. But for many students around the world, that has meant no schooling at all. And no schooling at all has also meant a complete halt in their development, in their intellectual development, their educational development. For many girls, it has meant the possibility that they may never return to school. It has meant early marriage, potentially. And for many, it has also meant that that was their one meal a day that they were able to get, because that's where they got their food in school. So it was just such a powerful, I just think it's a really good example of how do you break through these numbers and try to tell a story through different means. So UNICEF chose this installation, and it's really you know, the Secretary General went there and visited, and we put it out on his social media channel. So a way to talk about education, which is a key SDG, in a way that kind of breaks through. And so you are engaging with the SDGs yourself, making videos and posters and discussing the topics, including climate change. I know that, I mean, many of you are really active on a number of fronts in transformational projects for your communities, but also for your world. And climate action, I have to say, I'm so proud of the world's youth in really getting the adults of the world to pay attention and to act, whether it is governments who listen to youth voices and have changed policies and adopted, gotten out of coal or adopted more greener policies, or it's actually companies who realize that you are going to be their future staff members or managers, or you're going to be their, that you are or will be their consumers, and they better shift gears. So really important. And I know that many of you have already really become activists and developed projects in your own schools, such as recycling. You've also been holding food drives, you know, to help the disadvantaged among us and communities. And it's really inspiring to hear all that you are done, because, you know, we believe, again, if you just direct the Sustainable Development Goals to governments, we will not achieve what we call the decade of action. We will not achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in 10 years, because we need the governments really to shift policies. That's going to really make the big difference. But we need every individual to take action, including, for example, avoiding single-use plastics, turning off the lights, biking to school, not leaving the tap running too long, these small actions. And maybe some of you have engaged with our Act Now campaign. You can find it on un.org, but you can sign up actually, or you can download the app Act Now, and there are whole bunches of individual actions that you can take alongside of the UN. So inviting you to join there. And yeah, again, just back to the COVID-19 pandemic, I think, frankly, it's been a crisis for all young people. And I think there's been so much focus on the adults, you know, the elderly, which rightly so, the vulnerable populations, people out of work. But what we're seeing is just, you know, a massive mental health crisis among young people, not realizing the meaning of social interaction and in-person learning for young people. I think that there's been a lot of reflection done, and things hopefully will shift. I know that in many countries there really is a move to return to the classrooms, but we are finding that because of the lockdowns and because of the impact it's had on schools, COVID-19 has made inequalities worse also in this area. But so I hope that you all recognize your teachers and the facilitators who have guided you through your schooling, but also through this program. And I think teachers should belong among the heroes because they've really had to adapt also to a new way of teaching. And yeah, so just wanted to mention that. But another thing I wanted to mention, because I'm really seized with this, and so is our department, that this COVID-19 crisis has not only been a crisis in public health, but it's been also a communications crisis. False and inaccurate information called misinformation or disinformation has been spreading as fast as the virus itself. And we really need young people to help us navigate, first of all, that you become really media literate, that you are yourselves able to identify this does not look real. This photo is making my heart race. Maybe I'd better go check the origin of it, or this piece of this miracle cure, or this piece of conspiracy, sounding, storytelling sounds a little bit, off the wall. So maybe I'd better go look at the origin before spreading it. We started an initiative to spread media literacy around the world. It's called Pause, Take Care Before You Share, because we learned that the platforms are, of course, the people who create the misinformation are the problem, but the platforms on which this misinformation and disinformation is traveling is also a problem. Their algorithms are mixing it into people's feeds, and are, the more people share it, the more it spreads, and the more it pops up in your groups. And so we've been working with Facebook, with Twitter, with TikTok, with YouTube to ask them to really slow it down. They've been doing a lot. They've been flagging posts. They've created new methods of getting people to stop and take a look, or they've been just banning certain groups like anti-vaccine groups outright. But still, the misinformation is there. We have a polluted media landscape that needs individuals like you to navigate. But also, there's something that you could do, and if I could invite you all to join us, we have an initiative called Verified, which is an initiative to spread good information, good public health information, good information about the vaccines based on science and data, but also to educate our information volunteers about misinformation. And so you can sign up at shareverified.com, and maybe my colleagues can put the link in the chat to become an information volunteer, and make sure that what you share with your friends and peers is accurate and verified. But we'll also deliver good content for you and ask you to join forces with us. I really appreciate that. So yeah, we believe really that the only way we're going to overcome this pandemic is by working together in solidarity. We really believe there's an opportunity to get people even more excited about the SDGs. We really believe there have been even opinion polls out there that show that people around the world don't want to go back to where we were before. Where we were before got us into the pandemic in the first place. The trade in wildlife, our environment, the way we travel, the way we eat. So we believe that there is real appetite for kind of rolling out the SDGs again and saying, look, we have this blueprint for a better world, a more just, a greener world, a world where everybody has equal access to education, to health. And so thank you for playing a part of it with your Global Goals project. And I know it's coming to an end, but you have the chance now to keep it going in your own day-to-day work and your own activism and your own involvement. So thank you very much for having me. I think we have a few minutes for me to take a couple questions, and I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those lovely and inspirational words. We do have a question from our youth ambassadors, and I would like to invite Zoe to first ask her question to you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much, Ms. Fleming, for joining us. It's really been an honor to be able to hear from you. So the first question that we have is, what was the best advice that you were given when you were in school?
You're bringing me back. The best advice. I think the best advice was to look inside yourself and figure out what you're passionate about. Because the things that make you excited or that create outrage, that's what you really should pursue. So, you know, for me, I was interested in so many things, but in the end, if I look back, it was all related to communications and storytelling. So it was creating art, writing poems, doing a bit, dabbling in journalism and in those areas. And I was outraged about inequality always. So I think if you see what really makes you say, that's not right, maybe you can pursue that. And I think definitely careers are in the future course that you take and deciding what you want to be, you know, in your profession. You're never going to be satisfied if it's only about making money. If it has something that where you say, if that thing that gives me this creative, this energy that I just really enjoy doing, and at the same time, I can maybe help solve that area that makes me feel this is outrageous, you're going to really find satisfaction in your future career.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that lovely answer. Next question. For next question, I would like to invite Ria, if she could come up, unmute herself and ask a question.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to ask, we've learned a lot about the SDGs project, how youth can take further action, things like that. But what can we, from your perspective as youth, do to help implement the goals by 2030?
I think, again, as I kind of flagged, there are a couple of areas. Number one, your own individual actions, because I think it's not just that you're doing it yourself. If you decide, you know, I'm going to ride my bike everywhere, for example, but that has a ripple effect on your friends. You are influencers in yourself, even if it's just influencing a few people. So you're into individual actions. You're saying, this is what I believe in, and I am going to act accordingly. It makes a difference, just that individual action, but it also has an influence over others. So that's one area. And then, of course, if you can, I see many of you have become you've either founded or you've become involved in activism, in groups, in volunteering, in helping in your community. It really, really makes a difference. And so I think that's really important. And maybe three, choose a path, a future path that is going to make the world a better place. I think these are the longer term goals, but they're also important. If young people decide that that they're going to devote their lives to not just the enrichment of their selves, but also the enrichment of the world, then I think we're in good shape.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you once again for giving us your time and talking to us and for sharing such inspirational words and giving us the hope to keep on working towards the Agenda 2030. And I would like to now invite Dr. Jennifer Williams, ma'am, for, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming, for your amazing message and for being with us today. We know you have quite a busy schedule. There's a lot happening in our world, and the fact that you're prioritizing educators, students, youth, and this message of taking action means so much to us, and we'd love to keep the conversation going. We will for sure be sharing your social media, so all of these students who are on Twitter today can follow along and definitely see your TED Talk. So we're so grateful for all of the work that you and your colleagues are doing at the United Nations.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. I felt very inspired by all of you. So take care and
thank you
all
so
the best.
Much. Oh, we're so grateful.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we are going to keep going with our day of solutions after that inspiring talk and that call to action for us all to keep going and keep the hope. So we're so grateful for all of our student presenters and our performers. We have one more final performance that we'd love to conclude with. But before we do that, it's important for me to take a moment to thank all of our participants, our teachers, our facilitators who have been leading the way. We have an amazing group of interns who are backstage. There are project managers, there are social media managers leading the way as we go. We have language translators, so a full team that is helping to make sure that the Goals Project is available to you all every year. We have one final performance, and I'd love to invite Ayush to come back on to introduce our final performers. So today we've had speakers, we've had poets, we've had singers, we've had beautiful artists, and now we have a team of dancers. So Ayush, I'd love for you to introduce our final performers before we turn it over back to Twitter for our presentations today. And I'd also love, Ayush, to thank you for being our lead youth ambassador, having videos every week for our students to guide them. I know you have a very special one that you'll be sharing on Twitter today. So thank you so much for all of your work and support.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And these next performers are part of the online club Young Changemakers. They are based in the United Kingdom and their names are Eva, Serbi, and Ruhi. We are honored to present to you our official Goals Project 2021 dance performance. I'll have to share the screen just a second. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes. We can. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्त एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि गीतसाराय गीततत्त्वाय गीतगोत्राय धीमहि गूढगुल्फाय गन्धमत्ताय गोजयप्रदाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
Fantastic. Thank you, Ayush. And thank you to our special friends at the United Nations for all of their support through the Goals Project, with the tour of the UN, with our special guests, with Hawa and Juan and Elizabeth and Lily. Thank you to your team for everything that you've done to support us. On behalf of Kun, Ayush, and myself, we wish you a very happy Day of Solutions. And now we will turn it over to Stella in Italy on #Goals Project for her classroom presentation. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, teachers. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, Mrs.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Thank you and bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye. We appreciate you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye from Greece. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks a lot,
Thank
Jennifer
you.
and Karan and
Everyone.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am.